she was mean to me. She said this to me, and I can't continue this relationship until she acknowledges it and validates my. No, you can still forgive and forget, even if they're not sorry, right? And a lot of times this applies to people that aren't there, like your parents that are dead. You might not have the opportunity to even talk to them. You still have to forgive, even if they're not there, if you're not in a relationship with them, even if they're not sorry, even if they're willfully would hurt you again, you can still forgive them. And it's still vital that you do forgive them and that you do forget that harm. For people that we have unforgiveness for, we want revenge. We want them to pay. Right. And I used to ask this question a lot. I don't ask this question that much anymore, but I used to always say, do you want justice or mercy?
As well was me holding on to it and hurting myself by holding on to it. But I do think it's important because I don't think I could have gotten over it if you had never gotten to a point where you actually owned up to what you did and validated that within me. Because there was a time where you didn't do that. And I felt very dismissed.
Exactly.
And you need to just get over it. And no one is going to forgive and let go when the person who harmed them does not acknowledge that and really acknowledge that.
And I think that I make this distinction because you're absolutely right. In order to maintain a relationship, especially an intimate relationship with the person, those things have to be addressed. But I would also say that a person can forgive and forget without having anything that the other person does at all. And that's on us to do. However,
I think they can if they're not still with that person.
Right, exactly. That's what I said. In a relationship, right? It's going to, you would have to choose to not be with that person at that point, because it depends on the degree, right? On the degree of the harm, right? Because as I'm saying this, I'm immediately thinking in my head that's okay, well, she was mean to me. She said this to me, and I can't continue this relationship until she acknowledges it and validates my No, you can still forgive and forget there. It's good if you have a talk and that, but you can't make that a condition and be I can't be with this person. But if it's a severe breach of trust and harm, then then that is the case. But it is on us, right? And that kind of brings one of the topics I want to talk about this, which is that I encounter many times and just, you've seen it because I did a talk at a conference, right? And you were in the audience, and I said, how many of you hold up your hand if you have something that you're not forgiving someone, right? And how many people raise their hand?
A lot,
almost a lot. And I was like, why? What good is it doing to you, right? And a lot of people are well, as soon as they apologize, as soon as they acknowledge, then I can forgive, right? And some people are it doesn't matter what they do, I'm never going to forgive them,
right?
And the thing about that is that unforgiveness only harms you as a person. It does not harm the other person. It is like drinking poison to kill someone else. You're drinking that poison every day and you're living with that. And so the biggest thing about forgiveness is it's not for them, it's for you. Because you have trapped yourself in a prison when you're holding resentment, anger, holding on to the hurt. You're allowing that hurt to hurt you more and over every single day instead of the one time that it happened. And so even if the person's not there, even if they're not sorry, right? And a lot of times this applies to people that aren't there, like your parents that are dead, whatever, or relatives, whatever. You might not have the opportunity to even talk to them. You still have to forgive. Even if they're not there, if you're not in a relationship with them, even if they're not sorry, even if they're willfully even just would hurt you again, you can still forgive them. And it's still vital that you do forgive them and that you do forget that harm because it's vital to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It just eats away at you inside of you. Because, like you mentioned, every time you think of that thing,
right,
you're feeling those emotions all over again. And they haven't even happened. And you think, because I've been there, you think that the more you bring it up and you feel that pain again, it's preparing you to never feel that again.
Right.
It's preparing to protect you so that it won't ever happen again. But that's not the reality. Like you said, the reality is it's actually hurting you every time you bring it up.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that when something happens, you can't have the emotions, you
Right.
can't talk it out, and you can't feel the pain or whatever that you're feeling.
Right.
But the more you hold on to that and continue to relive that over and over and over again,
Right.
the more that it's poisoning you.
Yeah. It's a second arrow.
Right.
Is what it is, right? If you're not familiar with maybe you tell the story of the.
You're going to make me tell it?
Yeah, because you had read it more recently.
Oh,
It's
it's been
such
you
a
know
good-
how my brain
it's so funny
dumps
because
the things
you
out.
read it in one place and I read it in one place, totally different books. Yes, but go ahead. Yeah, see if you got it.
I am going to butcher this.
Okay, that's
because
okay.
my brain, has got that out of there. But basically, what John's saying is, you get hit with the first arrow. There's 2 arrows. You get hit with the first arrow,
Right.
and you feel the pain, and you realize, hey, I just got hit with an arrow.
Right.
But then, every time that you think about getting hit with the arrow, you've gotten shot with another arrow.
Right.
You've caused another pain, and that pain is the thinking about it. You're
Right.
harming yourself.
That's the arrow that
Instead of being shot once,
right.
now you've shot yourself again.
And the first arrow you couldn't avoid.
Right. It was
because
going to
it
happen.
was- right.
Yeah.
But the second arrow was a choice. You
Right.
stood
It
there
didn't
and
have
got
to
shot
be-
again. You shot
yes.
yourself.
Right.
The second time.
Right.
Even there's a good Marcus Aurelius quote. It's somewhat related, but he says, "How more grievous are the
Our brains aren't
are
working today.
the essentially, I'll butcher it, but the actions of our anger rather than the causes of them, right? So it's like how much worse is it how we respond to things,
Right.
than the actual thing itself.
Right.
And how many times have we been in a relationship, us not excluded, but, anyone. And the thing that the little thing that started the fight is so little compared
Right.
to what you've done because you got upset and got at each other's throats. And now you've caused real harm. The little thing was not even any harmful at all.
Right.
It was a little minor inconvenience, a little bit of a hurt or a little bit of pain. But now you've caused massive pain and hurt because you've because of
Blown it
your
up.
reaction
Yeah.
to it. But I do think that, like I said, it is a hard thing for people to forgive.
It is.
And
but
to
it is
forget.
necessary. Like
Yeah.
you said, it's and anybody can really see what we're talking about, because there does come a point where you're still stewing on something
Yeah.
and the person that you're upset with
Yeah.
has moved on.
Yeah.
They're not affected. And
Right.
you know that. You can see that.
Are they-
You
yeah.
don't know for sure, but
Right.
you can tell that it's not living in their head
Right.
what they did.
Or they're careless and they didn't even care in the first place and they don't care
Right.
now and they're never going to care.
And the more you think about it, isn't
Yeah.
going to cause them to care, isn't going to make them sorry,
Right.
isn't going to give you the thing that you want, like an apology or whatever it is.
yeah.
So the sooner that you let it go,
Yeah.
and really with any sort of thing, it's feel the emotion, feel the thing, then let it go.
Yeah.
We're not saying
No, you
get
process
hurt and you're like, it's fine.
I'm fine.
You know,
Everything's
like,
fine. We're
I
good.
forgive you.
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed to
Yeah.
feel the way you feel
Right.
about it. You're allowed to have that conversation.
Right.
But after you're done with the conversation,
Yeah.
you need to let it go.
Yeah.
And you need to not bring it up in your mind
Right.
constantly, because
Yeah.
it will upset you. Like,
And-
even
yeah.
if you really
Yeah.
have like talked it all the way out and you feel like you feel better about the situation, you're still choosing to like be with that person if it's like something that the person that you're with did,
Right.
you can't keep allowing that to come back. Because even if you feel like, okay, I'm good, I'm in a good place, we're in a good place,
Right.
you will get yourself back in a bad place.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have to truly let that go. It's not saying
Yeah.
that, like you said, it is forget,
Right.
but I also don't want people to beat themselves up if
No.
they can't just totally erase it out of their mind, because then they might feel bad if they do think about it once or twice.
Right.
And that's normal. But
But
the
you
thing
have to
is,
let it go at
you
that
have
moment.
the choice,
Yeah.
though, that even if it pops up in your head, to let it go again.
Exactly.
And to not start thinking about it. Like we said in another episode too, thinking is the root cause of suffering.
Right.
And even if you have it pop up in your head, don't think about it.
Right.
Let it go. Let it go again.
Right. Yeah, and we don't even want what we think what we want, right? Because a lot of times, hopefully it's not in your intimate relationship, but for people that we have unforgiveness for, we want revenge. We want them to pay.
Right.
And I used to ask this question a lot. I don't ask this question that much anymore, but I used to always say, do you want justice or mercy? Which do you want? Right? And a lot of times people are like, I want justice. And like, okay, when it's turned around, because it goes both ways. So if you want justice now, then you can have justice. But then when it's turned around, you're going to get justice. Do you want that? Do you want to? And then with that.